Maybe I'm a jerk for calling my coworker my work sister, after she called me her work husband in front of everyone. Original post. I'm a 36-year-old man, and I work in a small office with around 40 people. Claire, 33, is one of my coworkers. We've been working together for 5 years. There are only 7 people in our department, and we often have to travel across the state because our work involves overseeing state projects. While my travel partner varies depending on the project, Claire and I usually end up on similar projects and enjoy each other's company. My wife also gets along well with Claire. Overall, we have a very healthy work relationship. Now to the incident. Yesterday we had a work party after hours, and we were all drinking and chatting. About 10 people remained. Claire started joking about how much we've traveled together over the past year, and she teased me about my travel habits, how I always forget things in hotel rooms and show up sweaty and smelly for breakfast after my hotel gym workouts. Everyone was laughing, and she was telling them how unbearable I am to travel with. It was all fun and friendly. I shared a few funny and sweet stories about her too, and admitted that I'm not always the easiest person to travel with. Claire came up to me, gave me a tight hug, and said she loved me, and that I was her work husband. At first, it seemed innocent enough, but maybe she was a bit drunk and didn't let go of me right away. I hate that expression, because I have a wife to whom I've promised loyalty, both during and outside of work hours. After a few seconds, I started feeling uncomfortable and noticed a few people looking at us. To ease the situation, I took her arms off my shoulders and said she was my work sister, and that's why I love annoying her so much. It seemed to upset Claire. She went back to her table and quietly cried. I tried to apologize, but she said the situation was humiliating for her. She said she meant work husband in a platonic way, but by calling her my work sister, I made her look strange in front of everyone. She was also upset that I had too abruptly removed her hands from my shoulders during the hug. I tried to explain that I didn't like the phrase work husband, and that people gave her odd looks when she said it, so I was just trying to make sure no one misunderstood her words. We talked for a few minutes, and Claire calmed down. She hugged me again and left. After that, I felt guilty because I realized Claire had her own perspective. I made her look weird by implying that she meant something inappropriate when she called me her work husband. However, at that moment, I felt uncomfortable and just didn't want anyone to think or say anything wrong about us. Maybe I am a jerk for calling Claire my work sister. I'm sitting in my office now, wondering if I embarrassed Claire in front of everyone. Top comments, before reading the updates. No, you're being too generous in your assessment of the situation. The reason she immediately decided you called her strange is that she knows her behavior was inappropriate. Work husband has been considered unacceptable for a long time, and now she knows it. You handled it right. You should stay loyal to your real wife. Claire needs to back off and behave more professionally. It seems like Claire has placed too much importance on your work relationship in her life, and maybe she really does have feelings for you. This is dangerous territory, although you're clearly not interested in betraying your wife. I'd also suggest talking to your boss, or HR, about what happened, so that if office gossip starts, or inappropriate behavior from Claire continues, like excessive hugging, or her aggressive behavior after feeling rejected, you'll already have support. I'd probably also tell your wife about what happened, how you handled it, and that you reported it to management. 100%. She knew what she was doing, and instead of apologizing, she tried to make herself the victim by crying and making you feel guilty for what she did. And her attempt to blame you for removing her hands from the hug really says it all. She's trying to manipulate you. You politely corrected her and set a boundary while trying not to make a big deal out of it. She's the one who made it into a scene. You were never a bad person for setting boundaries. It's good to be loyal and honest. You're not a jerk. I think you were right all along. Unfortunately, alcohol can make situations awkward for everyone, but you felt uncomfortable because of her prolonged hug, so removing her hands made sense. The problem is that right now, Claire is only thinking about her own feelings and not considering how her actions made you feel. She didn't think that such a public display of affection could make a married man uncomfortable. She's only concerned that you made her look strange, but to be honest, she did look like someone flirting with a married man after drinking, probably because that's what was happening. And it hurts her that her feelings weren't reciprocated. You need to keep your distance from her. Bingo. That's exactly why she kept teasing him. She was proving how close and friendly they were with each other, called him her work husband, and then hugged him. I don't know, but in some people's minds, this is a way of claiming someone under the guise of platonic relationships, while leaving doubt in the minds of others. That's why she got so upset when he set boundaries. If she publicly calls him her work husband and touches him, he has every right to publicly set things straight. Now, to the first update. Thanks to everyone for your comments, and for giving me the confidence that I didn't do anything wrong or inappropriate. The next day, sitting in the office, I knew it would be a bit awkward between Claire and me. Claire ignored me all morning. Initially, I planned to go and apologize to her. But after the post, I decided I didn't need to, because I was the one who was wronged. The whole office saw us acting weirdly, and I overheard some people gossiping about us. One of the staff members came up to me and asked if I wanted to talk about what had happened between Claire and me. Around 4 p.m., I was sitting in my office working. Claire walked into my office and closed the door behind her. She was mad at me and started saying that I should stop being a jerk and stop ignoring her. I offered her a seat and suggested we talk about what was going on. She said she felt humiliated and that everyone had been looking at her all day because of what I did. I stood my ground and said that I was fine with her joking about me. But calling me her work husband and holding me for so long in front of everyone made things awkward. She said I needed to stop overreacting and that I should have understood what she meant. Claire said I was blowing what was supposed to be a joke out of proportion and making it uncomfortable for everyone. She said, calling someone a work husband is normal and just means she sees me as a friend. She added that since we spend so much time traveling together, she knows all the intimate details of my behavior outside of work. I stopped her and said that I was uncomfortable with the term work husband because I'm married, and I don't want people using that term to describe our relationship. I said she wouldn't understand because she's single, but as a married man, I really don't want anyone calling me her husband in any capacity. She said I had misunderstood her again. She feels like she knows me more intimately than my wife because we've known each other longer than I've been married. I was a bit angry at this point and told her I was saying all this because I consider her a friend, and if she thinks she knows me better than my wife, she's mistaken. I told her I didn't want to hear that term anymore, and it's extremely disrespectful to my marriage. Only one woman has the right to call me her husband, and that's my wife. Furthermore, if my actions give her such ideas, maybe we need to stop being friends. She apologized and said she didn't mean to disrespect my wife. That wasn't her intention. She apologized again and suggested we just forget about it. She said she loves traveling with me and doesn't want anything to change between us. She also said I had misunderstood her words again and just wanted to move on. She came closer to hug me again, but I told her it was fine and stepped back. That evening, I told my wife what had happened. As expected, my wife was angry at Claire and said she hated the term work husband. She asked if Claire had ever flirted with me on trips, or if she had feelings for me. I honestly answered that I hadn't felt that way, and maybe Claire said it, because she was a bit drunk and is now just being stubborn. My wife said she now feels a little uncomfortable around Claire and considers this a first warning. She asked me to keep my distance from her during trips, and if she ever repeated such behavior, to report it to HR. I promised my wife I'd try to limit my interactions with Claire outside of work hours and be more cautious in how I interact with her. You're not a jerk. I agree. You should go to HR so they're aware of the situation. I'd also suggest avoiding joint business trips with her, if possible. The fact that she claims to know you better than your wife is not only delusional and disrespectful, but also a cause for concern. She's only just starting to show her crazy side. Unfortunately, avoiding traveling with her isn't an option. We have a very small team, and we have to travel together since we oversee projects across the state, and site visits with colleagues are necessary. I'm debating whether I should go to HR, as I just want to forget about it. But I agree with my wife that I need to make sure this never happens again. If it happens again, I'll have no choice. However, I'm willing to consider this a drunken and harmless mistake and move on. You'll regret it if you don't notify HR. Claire has already said and done several very unprofessional and inappropriate things. You need to document them. I agree with your wife. You should report this to HR as a precaution. It's clear your colleague has other intentions. To avoid future conflicts with your wife on this matter, listen to her and report your colleague to HR, especially after she claimed you walked around in front of her in your underwear in the mornings, when it was actually workout shorts. How many other people has she told this lie to? That part definitely caught my attention too. I definitely think you should talk to HR, as Claire is making false claims. It's better to have this whole situation on their radar before she or someone else takes action. Second update. Thanks everyone for your comments and for explaining the seriousness of the situation. I discussed it with my wife and scheduled meetings with my manager and HR for today. I don't plan to file a complaint, but want to document what happened last week and why it made me uncomfortable. I don't have any trips scheduled this week due to the holidays, but I'll have to go on site on Tuesday with her. I'll discuss with my manager what options I have. But I feel that creating some distance between Claire and me for a while is the right decision. My daughter reached out to me after 16 years, asking if I wanted to meet my granddaughter. I was a jerk, telling her that I didn't care about her or her daughter, and that she should never contact me again. Here's a bit of background. I'm 62 now. I was married, and we had a daughter. Our marriage had its ups and downs, but I was very close to my daughter. When our marriage started falling apart, I made a huge mistake that I still regret. I started an affair with a colleague. She had an abusive and violent husband. We became friends at work, and things gradually spiraled out of control. I gave her the chance to leave him, and she got the support she needed to file for divorce from her husband, who is now in prison. The affair didn't lead anywhere, and we ended it shortly after, but I was glad she got out of that awful marriage and was safe. When my wife found out about the affair, things didn't go as expected. She was furious and said a lot of terrible things to our daughter, who was 14 at the time. I fully accepted responsibility for the affair, but even after the divorce, I could feel my daughter drifting away from me. At one point, she told me she didn't want to talk to me anymore and was cutting me out of her life for good. It was the most painful thing anyone had ever said to me. I begged her to reconsider. I still remember that day. But time passed, and my daughter kept her word. After a year of trying to fix things, I gave up. I heard from mutual friends that my ex-wife remarried a great guy. I was happy about that, because I hoped it would ease her anger toward me, and that she might encourage our daughter to at least try to reconnect. But that never happened. A year later, I moved to another state. Now I've found peace, although I still feel the pain. I'm retired, my parents have passed away, and my brother tragically died 3 years ago. Honestly, I'm just waiting for my turn. All I have left is my dog and my sister. A few hours ago, my daughter called me. We hadn't spoken in 16 years. I recognized her voice instantly, but I felt nothing. No joy, no sadness, just indifference. She cried a lot during the call, and we talked about our lives. She's married and has a 13-year-old daughter. She apologized for cutting ties and said her mother had asked her to reconnect with me because she feels guilty about how things turned out. She told me she really wanted me to meet her daughter, who's been asking about her grandpa. But I felt nothing. After we talked about everything in our lives, I told her I didn't care about her or her daughter, and that she shouldn't contact me again. Then I hung up. Was I a jerk? Top comments before the update. The truth is, no one falls in love faster than 2 married colleagues. You wouldn't understand. He was rescuing her. You wanted him to offer her a safe haven and support without getting romantically involved. This is one of the clearest "you're a jerk" posts I've seen. God, he's a jerk. But he's also an idiot. I read this and thought, oh, he's just a stupid, stupid guy with zero self-awareness. I hate when adults make terrible grown-up decisions that affect their kids, then blame the kids for reacting like kids. Your daughter was a teenager. It's a tough time, even in a stable home. You gave her just 1 year, then gave up. You abandoned her and moved away. You showed your daughter that she wasn't important enough to fight for, and she believed you. Now, as an adult with a child of her own, she reached out again, and you told her again that she doesn't matter to you. Now she knows she was probably right to cut you off in the first place. It sounds like he waited 16 years just to hurt her back, and finally got his little bit of pathetic satisfaction. Congratulations to him for that. Now the update. Listen, I was very drunk last night. The words that came out of me were far from my best, and my comments and the post were awful. After seeing everyone call me a jerk, I decided to call my daughter again about an hour ago. I didn't expect her to pick up, but she answered right away. I apologized for last night, and she said there was no need to apologize. Then I sent her a link to this post on Reddit and told her I admit I was a jerk. She said again that I wasn't a jerk, and started crying. I told her she could come to visit me any time within the next 4 months, because after that, I'm leaving the country with my sister and our dog. Our parents left us a beautiful farm home in their country, and we plan to spend the rest of our lives there. I gave her my address, and she said she'll come with her husband and daughter at the end of next week. She asked if they could stay for a few days, and I told her they could stay as long as they like since the house is big enough.